I seduced and had sex with a teacher in senior year, and then blackmailed him into giving me good grades. I still feel terrible about this, even though I am in my late 30s and it's been so long ago. In high school, especially by senior year, I was sort of the popular goth edgy girl. I tried as hard as I possibly could to be a sort of 90s Angelina Jolie type femme fatale girl. I slept around, a lot. I tried to sleep with as many guys as I could my senior year. I was 18 to 19, held back a year, and so I was older and was legally able to sleep with older guys. I had this math teacher, who was really hot. Handsome, rough face with short curly hair and a stubble beard. He was new, he was youngish, I think like 28, and he was charming. He would always bike to work after going to the gym and would typically only wear a white t-shirt which was usually coated in sweat when he got into the classroom, so it stuck to his body and it was basically see-through on some of the hotter days. I remember all the girls in the class would joke around about how you could see his muscles through his shirt on days when it was hot, and that we all prayed for hot weather just because of that. Right away I saw him as sort of a goal to get him to sleep with me. I flirted with him a lot, like just bluntly flirted with him when the class was over and it was typically only us in the classroom for a bit. He looked awkward as hell when I flirted with him, he didn't really know what to do. He was constantly looking out to see when the next class was coming and because he didn't want anyone walking in on me flirting with him. Early on, I kissed him, but he sort of leaned back and rejected it afterwards. I just laughed and kept on flirting with him. Later on I kissed him again, maybe 4 weeks after, but this time he was a bit more receptive to it. I asked him if he wanted to meet me by the lake and he didn't really say anything, he just looked shocked, and I told him where it was and told him to meet me there. He said he knew about the area I was talking about, but he didn't say he was gonna go, he just looked dumbfounded. He didn't show, I waited a whole hour. I asked him again the next class, and we kissed again, and this time he did show. Looking back, I feel awful. I felt predatory kind of. He was my prey and I was the predator. He looked like he wanted to have sex but also looked incredibly uncomfortable at the idea of it. We had sex in the park and it was good, really good actually, but I felt like he deeply regretted it. I asked him again the next class if he wanted to do it again, he said he was busy and quickly left the classroom. A week later, I saw him in the parking lot and asked if he wanted to meet me back at my house, and that my parents weren't home. He came, and we had sex again at my house, this time in a bed and he was there for hours. He warmed up and stopped being so uncomfortable at the idea of it. We had sex again 2 days later at my house. Eventually we stopped. But I still talked to him after class a lot, and I asked him about my grades and stuff and I knew I wasn't doing good in the class. I never outright said it, but I implied that. Well, he should give me good grades because I slept with him. The day after he sort of just straight up told me, he can't give me good grades just because we had sex. This is the part I most regret, I told him. Because we had sex, you have to give me good grades and said how much trouble he could get in for having sex with me. I was implying that I would tell on him, if he didn't give me good grades. The worst part is that I tried to make myself seem like some seductress badass femme fatale girl when in my head I felt horribly insecure and felt terrible for him, while I was saying it. He sort of looked at me in horror and I kept up the act, but in my head all I wanted to do was tell him that I didn't mean what I said. I would have never actually told anyone about what we did. I really liked him, he was a nice, charming guy who was sweet and funny and wholesome. He gave me good grades. I got AA. I know I didn't deserve it. I barely even talked to him at all during the class after that. I still think about this all the time and feel so much regret over it. The way I seduced him and pressured him, the way I basically blackmailed him, the corny way I was trying to act like some femme fatale badass when I told him I was blackmailing him. Even though I really liked him, and the sex was great, none of it was worth it. It makes me feel horrible, all the time. Nothing bad ended up happening in the end. He would go on to be a professor at a college 2 years later and I would go to NYC for college after taking a year off.